Hello, and welcome back to another great episode of Daily Drips to Drown Out the Ego. I just want to start off by saying thank you so much to everyone who tuned in to the first episode. It was great to see and read everyone's words of encouragement. I'll be honest, it was a little rough putting myself out there. I was like, oh my gosh, I really want to delete that shit. I want to take it down. But I did it. And you know what? I honestly didn't show up yesterday and record a video because it was a little overwhelming. But here I am showing back up and staying committed to the process. So when I was tuning in and thinking about what I wanted to speak on today, I was thinking back to a couple weeks ago when I was doing a homebound session. Those are like these one-on-one sessions that I offer to some of my clients. They're super amazing. I won't go into all the details here, but if you want to know more, reach out to me. But they're called homebound sessions, and it really is an opportunity to kind of work with clients one-on-one and just kind of get a feel for like what's up in the air for them, what's going on, and then we like strategically work together to kind of shift through whatever's coming up for them. And so this client in particular that I was talking to was just talking about how they were feeling like stuck in life, stuck in general, and like just felt like they weren't making progress, but they weren't necessarily doing bad, it's just that they kind of wanted more in life, which honestly, who doesn't? And I could so relate to that, and that's really what I enjoy about the work that I'm getting to do now with people one-on-one is like hearing their stories. And I see how our stories resonate so much together. And so it really is an opportunity for me to work with them and help them out. But it also is a call to action for me as well to kind of take a look at my own life and evaluate what's going on and make small tweaks here and there. But anyways, we were talking about the concept of compromising. And I started to go down the rabbit hole of like compromising and how I've compromised in life and like how compromising shows up for me. And like just by looking around and seeing people in the world and realizing how many people on a daily basis compromise in like all areas of their life. And it's like no wonder that like people are like not happy right now or feeling unfulfilled, right? Because for so long, and I even was like called myself out on it this past weekend when I was hanging out with the kids because the kids were playing or something, and I was telling my son, just give it to your sister, just give it to her so she'll stop crying. So basically I was asking him to compromise what he was doing for her when in reality, like it shouldn't have been that way in the first place, but I think as parents and as young kids, we have literally been ingrained to compromise our whole entire life. And it's been this view that if you aren't open to compromising or meeting someone halfway, then that makes you as a person selfish. And then they tend to call you out and judge you because you're not willing to compromise, right? But if you think back to it, every time that you've compromised or said yes to something that wasn't 100% hell yes for you, it's like you gave a little bit of your power away, right? And so it's like time after time after time of doing that, like how is it that we even really know what we want anymore? We don't, because it's like we've all watered down versions of who we are to try to melt and merge into a compromised version of who we think society expects us to be, right? And I think the easiest way for me to explain this and how that shows up in my life when I was thinking about this was this concept of what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And so I remember as a young child, anytime anyone would ask me that question, I would always be like, I want to be a kid's doctor, And so like I had always, since a very young age, wanted to do something with children. And I always knew I wanted to help people. And so being young, I associated that with being a doctor for kids, right? Which is so far from what I actually do in life now. And I just laugh because like it was a series of compromising who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do, which has gotten me to where I am today. And so just to give you an idea of what that looks like for me. So I started out wanting to be a kids doctor, and then I got out of college, or I got out of high school, and I went to a community college, and I was so like confused on what I wanted to do in life. Like I wasn't really sure. So I just started taking some courses to get like an associate's degree until I could like figure it all out, right? And so then I got the associate's degree, and it came time to like pick a major, and like, was I just going to take like a small 2-year degree, or was I going to go on to a 4-year college? Um, and so I decided to go on to a 4-year college, and I picked the major of psychology. Great, you know, like I love working with people. I love to see how the mind works. But I got into some psychology classes, and I got freaked out, honestly, for the amount of work that I was gonna have to do and put into it. And like, it just felt overwhelming for me. So I got scared and I backed out, and I decided to change my major to social work. I guess I don't know how along the way that I thought that was gonna be any fucking better, because it wasn't. I think I got like into 2 or 3 social work classes, and I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? Like, this is almost worse than psychology. I'm the type of person that like if I see like someone in physical pain, or even like I'm watching it on TV, like I literally can feel the pain in my body, right? And so the thought of having to like be a social worker and work with families and just everything that goes on with that, obviously there's the good, the bad, the ugly, like I just wasn't prepared to take on that responsibility. And I wasn't in a space to take on mentally that type of work. Just the thought of it drained me. So I totally jumped ship on the social work thing, right? And so I found myself in a career exploration class. And it was a class where they come in, they tell you about all the majors that they have at the school. Like, here's your options, you know, what sounds good for you? Well, I had always had like a love for art, you know, anything that allowed me like creative style, you know, drawing, writing, anything artsy, like was my jam. And so I had a teacher come in, and they started talking about a printing and marketing degree, which you get to like go in and you get to run all the printing presses, and you get to design stuff in graphic design programs, and you get to like print your own things and design your own things. And I was like, hell yeah, you know, like that's totally like sounds like fun for me, you know? So I went with that. Okay, so I started out wanting to be a kids doctor and helping people, and I landed a job in corporate America in business and marketing. Not to say that I don't love marketing, because I do design, I enjoy certain aspects of it, but I think that's really kind of where I got burnt out and found myself, you know, a couple of years ago contemplating like, what is it and who am I and what am I doing? You know, like everyone kind of laughed at me and chalked it up as like a midlife crisis. But now looking back, I realized that it was a series of compromises that has led me to the place to where I'm so far away from like what it is that I truly wanted, that in a way I almost got lost in all the compromises. It was compromise after compromise after compromise. I'm not doing what truly felt good for me, and doing what I thought was expected of me, or what I thought I needed to do, instead of just like following my heart and doing what felt good for me. And so I started to run with that idea after the homebound session, and really like take a look at like, where am I compromising, you know? And that was just one area of my life. Like that was just one area that I was compromising in. And honestly, it has been so like eye-opening for me, right? Because if you think about compromising, like I feel like all day, every day, people compromise, right? And I was thinking to myself, well, if I'm not willing to compromise, then who does that make me like as a mom? Who does that make me as, you know, someone's fiance? Who does that make me as someone who needs to work with people? Like if I'm not willing to compromise, um, who am I? Like, am I just like a selfish, self-absorbed like person who's not willing to budge or do anything? No. I think that that makes me a person who knows what I want. I think that that makes me a person who is able to keep her eye on the intention and run with it and not allow anyone to persuade her. I think that makes me a more authentic version of who I really am. Um, and then I started to think about like, okay, like where in life do I make lots of compromises? And obviously, as a mom, you know, you have to be flexible, do all these things. But I feel like by allowing myself to compromise and compromise and compromise, I'm then instilling that same thing into my children to where they are becoming people who compromise everything in their life. And I will be damned if they are in a position that I am and like don't truly follow what they want to do, you know? And so I also started to think about that, how that looks in my relationship, right, with my fiance. And so I come to a conversation with what my desires are. He comes to the conversation with what his desires are. Do we really have to like meet in the middle and compromise? No. Like why is it that we think that we always have to meet in the middle and compromise? Like why can't we both have what we want? And if what we both want doesn't look the same, then why can't we figure out a way to make that work to where we are both getting what we want? Fully what we want, you know, like walking away from the conversation knowing that like I can wholeheartedly stand behind the decision that I made because it feels good for me, not because I chose to compromise a part of me or give away a piece of me, give away my power because that's what met your expectations or you thought I had to meet in the middle of, right? And so it's like a win-win for like everyone. Like and so it has been for me like time really to reflect and think about like compromising and how that shows up and how that has led me to where I am today. And um it's just like it's been really, really empowering. It's almost like I have the power back now. Like I get to decide what is right for me and I don't have to say no if it doesn't feel good for me, right? And so then I started to think like what you feel like after you compromise, right? And so when you say yes to something that isn't like a full body hell yes, like you know what that feels like, right? It feels different for everyone. You know, it can feel like a yes in a body feels for me like it's almost like uplifting in my stomach, right? And then a no kind of feels like a sinking feeling in my stomach. And so it has really been a call to action to like intuitively feel in like what feels good. And I think that I am able to strengthen that by doing the small things, right? So it could be just simply sitting in the car and being like, do I need to go left? Do I need to go right? You know, and feeling in yes, no, and not compromising on little things like that. Because I feel like it's when you start to make the little compromises that the little compromises snowball into something so much bigger. And I literally think that that's why like there's so many people walking around because we are all compromised versions of who we really want to be, right? And it's like we're so far removed from who we initially came here as and knew what we wanted because we've made a series of compromises. And so the call to action today really is, you know, just take a look at like compromising, like just the idea of how you compromise in everyday life. And what if you decided for the next week that you were going to not compromise and you were going to do what felt like it was in your highest and best interest in every decision and not allow other people's judgments or feelings or expectations of who they expect you to be waver you from what that is, right? So yeah, so it's essentially just like giving the power back to you, putting the power back into your hands and saying hell no to compromises and hell yes to yourself. So thanks for tuning in. That is my daily drip for drowning out the ego. I hope you guys like it. If you have any questions or you want to leave me some comments, I would love to hear them. Until next time, catch you on the flip side.